Okay, this is part 3 of the cut and hinging of resin bases, and we're going to pick up where we left off. The only thing left now is just to attach the spring from top to bottom. It's pretty much just the same as the top. You grab the ring closest to the open section. And guide it into the slot. And do the same on the other side. Now it's actually a little tight. So I'm actually going to bring this one a little bit closer. You want to have a good spring, but you also don't want it to the point where it's going to hurt. Like, you should be able to hold the top of the head and push down the jaw. And the head itself shouldn't move too much. If it tends to move or try to slide down, that means you got the springs on there too strong. So this one is now cut and hinged. Now we could do the same for the canine. So that's a cut and hinge, straight hinge, small feline. This one we're going to remove all the clamps. And you can see the glue is on there, it's nice and hard. Leaking out on all the edges, so you know you've got a really good seal on all sides. This one I don't have the nostrils cut out of it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and heat that up. Switch my safety glasses here. There we go. And since the hinge is now attached, I go ahead and heat up the lip line here and get that separated. Same thing, starting from the front, heating that up. seam in there. And same as before, I'm starting right here and cutting away very carefully because this is very heated up, which means it'll cut through it like a hot knife through butter. You hear it creaking, that means it's where the cooler parts are. And since the hinge is already patched, it already starts working on its own. Just got those rough edges to clean up. And same like the small key line. Just take your marker, and you see all this right here is extra. We don't need that. So I'm marking here. Don't need to take very much off the front of the lip. You want to keep that pretty thick. And this area has already been cut down and cleaned up from me earlier cutting out the V. And same thing the bottom lip. Pretty much this is already cut to the right size. Just everything in the front that was not part of the V. What are you looking for?
Get duct tape out.
Huh?
Duct tape.
It's all in my drawer.
Oh, it's right here.
Okay. Same thing as before, I'm going to use the box cutter to get the sharper blade, and I'm going to slowly cut away. Again, the plastic's just going to go everywhere, so no point trying to aim it at a trash can. It's not going to work. You can try cutting it over a trash can. I can't do it while I'm trying to show you guys this, but at least some of it will go in the trash can, it's not all of it. You want to take it away a little bit of time, just kind of do a saw motion as you're moving the blade. Makes it easier to get around curves. You can use an X-Acto knife, but I just find the box cutter to be a lot sharper, especially because it's not been heated up. It's already cooled down since the last time I used a heat gun. The only reason I don't like using a heat gun to heat this up is because you risk a chance of actually warping the mask by doing that too much. Especially when you put so much pressure on it. There we go. Again, be very, very careful. Make sure you're always aiming the blade away from you. Don't risk a chance to cut your fingers off. The amount of force you're putting into this plastic, you can give yourself a pretty nasty wound. Even with the gloves. If you do have a Dremel, you can actually use the a sanding bit on Dremel, and you can just sand this area all away, and then you don't have to worry about injuring yourself. Or you can use a coarse sandpaper and just take it away bit at a time. It just takes longer. There we go. Since edges are all cleaned up. And use your sandpaper. Smooth out those edges. Get in that tear duct area. And I'm just going to use the compressed air just to get the old dust out. And that is a V-hinge small canine. All nice and cut out and sanded. And essentially ready for the next step of installing jaw sets, eyes, or replacing the nose. The big difference between the V-hinge and the V-hinge and the straight hinge is you'll have a decent amount of movement with the straight hinge, but if you've got a larger size jaw, or if you want more movement, like a really big gaping mouth like a crocodile would have or something, then you do a V-hinge and it gives you more movement and a bigger gaping mouth whenever you're speaking, so it's more sensitive. They're both pretty sensitive, but the V-hinge gives you more options, especially if you've got a larger size head and you find that your jaw's bigger and you need to drop this area down. You can actually do that with a V-hinge. You can attach the bottom hinge and clamp the top one. So pretty much clamp the top and the bottom before you start gluing, and put the mask on and just slowly push the jaw down to adjust it, keeping this area lined. But you can actually pull this whole unit down to give you more space for your jaw. But this usually fits people up to 24-inch size head. If you've got a larger size head, you will have to make some adjustments. The last thing to do is connect the springs. But the springs for a V-hinge, I actually connected to the hinges themselves, and they don't need to be measured out because it's already pre-measured with the split here. So essentially, just mark right here. I'm using a silver Sharpie because you can't see black on black. And right here. So essentially it's both at the bends of the hinge. Let's take your Dremel and drill those holes. like using the Dremel too much because see all that dust. Imagine how much you'd have if you actually used a cutting tool to cut all this out and sand it. Pretty messy. Same with a small feeler, use a pair of needle nose pliers to attach the springs. And do the same on the other side. There you go. Now you've got a cut hinge, V-hinge, small canine. And a cut hinge, straight hinge, small feline.